Hey, good morning to everyone out there in YouTube land. Uh, Today's video, I felt kind of called to speak on. It is the third week of February, and that means some people have uh, about 9 weeks into their New Year's resolution, fitness journey, whatever. And then it's beyond the 10th of February, so anybody who resets their year around Chinese New Year has also had a couple weeks in. So I just wanted to kind of give this mindfulness aspect, I guess. I guess we can call it that. I don't know. I'm pretty new to this whole fucking speaking to a camera bullshit. I'm a conversationalist. I usually speak with people and address questions. So I'm just riffing off the top of my head here based on being in a gym environment since I was 13 or 14 in blue collar land of Juneau Douglas, Juneau, Alaska. And so I've seen it. I've seen a rotation or two of people with the new year, new me mentality. So I want to talk about generating fatigue because that's something that fitness channels, the fitness industry, fitness magazines, fitness, whatever. That's something they won't talk about. That's something that in almost 20 years of studying this shit, almost, wow, 25 years. No, that's bad math. It's more than that. More than 20, less than 30. Anyways, not the point. A little bit over caffeinated. I should probably go out into the field and work before I shoot a video, but that's future reference. Um, so generating fatigue. Fatigue, I've written about this in my blogs, which nobody gives a fuck about, because those have been up since 2013 and have like 7 views. So I just figured since I have that content and I can riff on that content, I might as well. So in my blog article about generating and tracking fatigue, I go into some depths about beyond a year or so of training, you should really stop thinking about like I got a workout done, and you should really start to shift your mindset to how one workout leads to the next, leads to the next, leads to the next, in the macro view kind of way. Panning out to 3 and 4 weeks, because week one, while you have gone from sedentary to, let's call it, active, even though like you're not yet. Um, you're active in the sense that you still have training wheels on and you are pedaling the bike on the bicycle, but like you aren't, with the training wheels on, you don't have to do the balance, you don't have to do the proprioceptive faculties. Your central nervous system is not being stressed to its maximum. You don't even know how to do that yet. It's not until the seventh, eighth, ninth week of having the training wheels off that you start to ride further than your neighborhood and start to pedal fast enough to get ahead of traffic or to catch that beeping pedestrian crossing light or whatever, right? And that's when the real tests start to come out. That's when we start to really find out that, like, oh, I am not at training wheels level anymore. So that's kind of the mentality, that's kind of the mindset behind all of it. Uh, in thinking about generating fatigue, the next stage of that is managing fatigue. Okay, this is why I tell dudes to fucking adopt a mobility practice, an active recovery practice, a stretching practice, a yoga practice. They're all the same fucking thing. Which is part and parcel of the problem, because our fucking society wants to invent new words to seem like we're talking about new shit, even though we don't remember what Solomon told us, that there's nothing new under the sun. So, uh, in line with managing and facilitating fatigue, we need to have a macro view. We need to understand week 7 when we start week 1, right? That's kind of the idea. Because who you are week 1 and who you're going to be week 7 aren't the same people. And around week 4, it starts to bridge into 2 timelines. The people who take the high road and manage shit correctly, and the people who have tried everything and can't lose weight or can't achieve that goal or can't do everything. Like you haven't tried everything. You barely even did anything. What you did was attack it vigorously in the beginning because you're so fucking needy to have this weight off now, or this depression be gone now, or your appetite for life to come back now, you know? Even though we probably haven't taken proper account, if you've been sedentary for 7 years, 7 weeks at the gym is not going to unfuck that. You need to have some fucking compassion and some patience for yourself, in that regard. So the first piece I want to talk about is managing fatigue, which I've kind of roundabout fucking ranted around in circles for almost 5 minutes now. And then another piece that comes into that, they're one and the same from a certain level of observation, is understanding our posterior pull chain, okay? On the note of society inventing new shit. Your posterior pull chain is just part of your core. But like the idea and the misguided idea of what your core is really a big part of what prompted me to even speak on this morning. I was trolling Facebook while I was drinking coffee, and I noticed that one of my massage clients is generating more excuses than problem solving, again, which is whatever. You know, and thinking that they can lie to me or lie to themselves. Really, that's what it is, because people project their shit onto me as a coach. So like, I generally contend and can tell that like they don't have a problem with me, they have a problem with them that they are projecting onto me, because I am, the voice of accountability, or the voice of the one more rep, or the hand with the clicker counter, or the hand with the fucking clipboard, right? Counting their reps, or telling them that they have to do reps, or whatever, right? And so, this particular client has lumbar issues. And really, what they have is weak ass fucking hips. But like, I ride horses. My hips can't be weak. Okay. And their lumbar takes the brunt of all of that hip work that's not being done. And then meanwhile, their anterior side, that's the front of the body, okay? Anterior is front of the body, posterior is back of the body. Their anterior chain is overworked. Like, first of all, we live in Texas, so they drive everywhere. So and then they live way out in the fucking sticks. Like way out in the fucking sticks. Like you plan your weekly trip to HEB kind of out in the sticks, right? And so they're 20 minutes from anywhere. And so at minimum, right limit, they're driving 20 minutes anywhere. And then sure, 20 minutes isn't shit, but like 20 minutes once, 20 minutes twice for a round trip, or 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, another 20 minutes, that's a whole hour seated with your hip flexors short and your posterior chain loose and lengthened, and your anterior legs stepping on a gas pedal. Because like, then on top of it, don't even get me started as a massage therapist, how fucking car driving is like contingent and like a foundational aspect of why so many fucking people have anterior fucking pelvic tilt, anterior medially rotated shoulders, anterior problems within their body. Then, trying to get back onto subject, this client wants a six-pack. Why not? Like, our fitness industry has told us that the only thing fucking desirable is a fucking six-pack. Not like a strong core, not a good abdominal wall, not an abdominal wall that's going to help you like brace against maximal fucking effort loads, or even for that matter, an abdominal wall that is going to be functional and allow you to like carry 50-pound bags of fucking food on your shoulder, or some sort of, functionally correct shit like that. Uh, just a six pack, have a six pack and you're strong. Have a six pack and you're aesthetically pleasing. Have a six pack and you're functionally correct. You know, never mind that like never mind that the abdominals wrap. So like here's your spine and the abdominals wrap around. It's three-dimensional. It's not just this slab of fucking, right? It's not just this slab of abdominals and then your spine, right? They wrap around the fucking, and that's what your core is. Your core is everything from the base of where your tongue inserts to the base of your occiput, everything on the sides, and that same level of dimension all the way down to your pubis, down to your pelvic floor, down to your fucking sexual genitalia girdle, like, you know, uh, you know, whatever the boys have and whatever the girls have, and the anus on the back end. You know what I mean? Like, it's that whole fucking three-dimensional facet. This is a big part of why deadlifts, done functionally correct, which is a big part of why I recommend the hex bar deadlift to a lot of people. The hex bar deadlift is incredibly functional and will fix so many of your fucking problems. For everybody out there who, as soon as I said deadlift, they were like, oh, my knees or my low back. Your knees or your low back would fix if you fucking did the hinge movement that is the movement pattern that is the base of the fucking deadlift. Of course, all of this is very technical, and like, who wants to fucking speak like that? So we shorten it down and we just say the deadlift. Yeah? And so like even walking can be, I'm going to harp on fucking walking again. Even walking can be tremendously impactful for your posterior chain, for your posterior pull chain, if you're like walking up an incline. And then on top of it, if you can engage your pelvic floor up to your collarbones to remain in line, right? So if this is the grade and you're walking up the hill, if you can align yourself to be vertical in spite of this grade, right? Rather than doing like the forward lean. Most people just forward lean when they go up hills. And then that just becomes basically a stair stepper. So now you're basically using your anterior press chain to go up that hill. Like, I get it. It is more than likely going to feel more confident and more stable to do that, which is part of why we have to train in the beginning. Like, this is why walking can be useful. You could train proper posture just with walking on the correct inclines, at the right, through the correct load levels. So like walking on the treadmill with an inclined, can be incredibly instructive. Doing hanging core. I posted on my communities tab in the playlists, or the communities tab itself, I think. There's also within this Fit to Farm playlist at the very top, I have included a video from another channel. I don't even remember the fucking channel name. I just remember the video because it's such good content that I've been prescribing for 15 years as a massage therapist to my clients, active and passive hangs. So if you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, go back to the very first video in this playlist and watch that video that those guys did on hanging. And so when I say hanging core, that's like hanging knee raises. That's like hanging transition towards an L-sit. That's like dip bar transitioning towards an L-sit. That's like seated with two chairs as your dip bars transition towards an L-sit, or knee raises, or knee tucks for that matter. Nose to toes, or no, not nose to toes, excuse me. Knees to nose, and then toes to the bar. That's what I was thinking, is toes to the bar. Toes to the bar is a fantastic full core strengthening facet. Plus it has hanging and the uh, shoulder work that comes with that. Uh, Working towards an overhead position in your fitness goals rather than only doing push-ups, dips, or bench press. Like if you also include some overhead press and keep a good, healthy, strong shoulder girdle, like that's another, that's another thing. A lot of people have no idea that, like, they're getting back to the abdominals. If your back was fucking stronger, your back would create the thoraco uh, lumbar pressure necessary to actually push your abdominal wall forward, right? If the back muscles get denser, stronger, tighter, they're going to press your abdominal wall forward. Now, because you've strengthened your back, you actually don't have to do as many crunches, as many sit-ups. You shouldn't be doing sit-ups or crunches anyways. That was all covered by Vince Gironda in the fucking 60s. But whatever. So like hanging core, dip bar core, walking core, loaded carries, farmer's carries, overhead carry, shoulder carry, all of these things, very advantageous. This is all Paul Chek shit and the 7 movements necessary for a strong and active human. But if you work your entire core and not just your mirror muscles, not just your anterior chain's gonna get stronger. You know, this last cycle of powerlifting training, I really hope this kid follows through. I told one kid he had a great bench press. He had a phenomenal fucking bench press without his bench press shirt on. And in the THSPA UIL Texas high school powerlifting rules, they're allowed to use bench shirts. So I told this kid that if he can get his raw bench press numbers on his bent over row raw, like if you can bent over row what you bench press, A, you're strong as fuck, but B, your competitive bench press will go up fucking tenfold. And within the aesthetic and functional fitness world, for any like normies out there that just want to like lose some weight or like have fucking healthy shoulders or like not have fucking collarbone problems every time, after a 45-minute fucking drive, if those people would work their posterior pull chain, if they would do more rows than they do pressing movements, a lot of that would short itself up. Going back to and harping on the driving facet, between our phones, our computers, the position that we have to put ourselves in order to drive a vehicle. Some motorcycles are slightly different anatomically, a little more ergonomically set up, but like most of them aren't. Most of them have the same fucking ape arm forward fucking anterior recruitment as a car steering wheel does. When we start to account for how much time we spend in the anterior plane, in the fetal position, effectively, we start to realize like why we should actually be doing probably 2 or 3 times, probably 2 for most normies and 3 for anyone who's actually like loading real weight on, how much we should actually be attending to our posterior pull chain more than our mirror muscles, more than like what we can see and check while we're at the gym. And for anyone who needs like feedback, tactile feedback, environmental feedback, whatever, a good way to know is when your shirts start wearing different. A good way to know is when like you have to do the fucking big booty Judy jean shake on the bed in order to get your pants on, when 2 months ago you didn't have to do that, right? So when your hamstrings and your fucking ass start getting real full, like notice what kind of changes that brings to your posture, what that brings to your posterior tilt, what that brings to your lumbar stability, what that brings to your lower dantian. Your lower dantian, by the way, is I cannot remember the name of the anatomical setup in the women, because it's not quite like your uterus. Your uterus is pretty well balanced in the middle. But for men, it's like the spermal cord. You can look on your muscle charts at your gym, right, where they peeled the skin off of people, and you can see that little V down around the pubic bone. It's called the spermal cord, and it's kind of shaped. It's like a V, but it's also kind of curls up, right? So the front and back aspects of that. On the back is your SI joint. Um, Everything encompassed within that jelly bowl, right? This three-dimensional bowl space inside of that pocket, that is your lower dantian. You should be capable of breathing all the way down to there. You should be capable of bracing that while keeping everything above your belly button loose and fluid. You know, the old gird your loins idea. That was that's that's the anatomical resonance that goes with, you know, girding your loins or whatever. Um, because if you can do that, if you can flex or tense, I guess, I don't know if you flex it, like if you can hold stable your lower dantian, then like you can do hit it drills for football. You can not get run over by a horse. You can not get run over by another human, or at least stabilize your lower spine against that impact against another human. Or you can move the industrial cooking rack without like overarching or underarching your spine and putting a lot of shearing forces on your lumbar or your knees or your calves for that matter. You can actually generate force through your base. Which, you know, there are standing abdominal postures you can do. So yeah. So anyways, trying to kind of get out of technical analysis mode and get back to the point, which is, you know, working on your posterior pull chain more than your anterior pull chain, anterior press chain, excuse me, as well as considering the amount of fatigue that you are putting on whatever you're putting it on, right? So now that you are aware of your posterior pull chain, don't just go out and do 3 fucking weeks of deadlifts. You know what I mean? That's a lot of fatigue you've just generated on that posterior chain, right? And so the 4th week, your body will physically and physiologically rebel against the idea of any more stair stepping, any more deadlifts, any more single leg deadlift, any more Romanian deadlift done with dumbbells, any more pull-ups, any more chin-ups, any more fucking bent over row, any more seal row, you know, etc. So, you know, one thing, while I'm riffing on the subject, one thing about generating fatigue, managing fatigue, the silo of information that is generating and understanding and managing the fatigue. One thing I learned from calisthenics that I really appreciate is the push-pull concept, right? Beyond fitness industries push-pull concept. So I want to do them justice. I want to remember exactly which group this was, but it is not coming to me. They were a group, I want to say, out of Philadelphia. They might have been out of New York, but I don't think they were out of New York. I think they were out of Philadelphia. And they used to have this workout system where they had like these steps, right? Like the steps kind of akin to like the steps that Rocky runs up in the Rocky training montage. And so they had this park with all these steps. And they had this idea that you did push-ups up the steps and then you did decline push-ups down the steps. Oh, God. I've been sitting lotus. Oh, God. I was sitting in lotus position for way too long. About 10-15 minutes longer than this 24 minutes timer that the phone says I'm ticking up to. Needed to move my ankles again. Anyways, so there was this group, and they used to have this idea that when your chest starts to get too full of blood, right? When the lactic acid starts building up, now it's not time to be done with your workout because we've got whatever reps ascribed that we've got. It's time to go do a different movement pattern. So, for example, one way they would do it is if their focus was only on the anterior chain, then from push-ups you would go to dips because you're still working the chest. Oh, my nose is itchy. You're still working the chest, but it's a new movement pattern, right? Instead of here, it now becomes here, right? And if you couldn't do dips, or if your lactic acid was building up from too many dips because you've been doing, you're so new to the conditioning of what these guys did, because these guys did like retarded numbers, you know. I'm talking like 3, 4, 500 fucking push-ups a day through these style of workouts. So if you were like brand new to the crew, you know, and you moved and managed the lactic acid with dips already, and now dips were starting to fatigue on you, then they might put you on like an upside down overhead press handstand push-up kind of situation, because now you've got this push chain going, right? So so they would manage the lactic acid within a workout, and you can use that same concept within your overall program design. See my program design videos. You can see that within your overall program design. So if Monday is a push day, Tuesday should be a pull day, reflective of whatever the Monday push day was. That's the idea, anyways. And so you're constantly moving lactic acid from one chain to another, from the anterior chain to the posterior chain, to from the sagittal plane to your base plane, which I cannot remember the name, the scientific name of the fucking floor plane right now. It'll come to me later when I'm not filming this, I'm sure. And but that was the idea, was like constantly, like when you no longer can in one area go to another area and just like keep hitting the body within its fitness and exercise routine. So you can think about that within your managing fatigue. Another way to manage fatigue properly is through an understanding. Use mine, or I've had plenty of critiques of why the RPE scale is not useful, or it's not useful for trained individuals, or it's misleading for some beginners. You can use my RPE scale video. I hope I've explained that well enough. But either way, have a scale, right? If today is a 1 training day, tomorrow can be a 2, right? If today is a 3, then like maybe tomorrow should be a 1 or a 2, depending on how many 3 days you've had. You know what I mean? So, because like that's a big part of what I see within the I tried everything gym goer mindset, is like, yeah, you tried everything at a fucking 10. Like you went from a 0 sedentary as fuck lifestyle to like pounding fucking pre-workout and doing 3-hour workouts at an RPE of fucking 9 and 10 for 3 weeks. That's not wise. That's not an intelligent approach to that. And so, so that's one way you can manage your fatigue. That's one way you can understand what you're doing, the physiological stressors you're putting yourself under. Because again, in the beginning, it's going to be really cathartic to do 3 days at a 10. It's going to feel fucking good. You're lubricating things that haven't, joints and joint facets, within multi-jointed pieces like the erector spinae group, or the lumbar or the cervical spines, or the rib cage for that matter. Like it's all of a sudden, it's gone from braced and sedentary and stuck in one position, or predominantly one position, to now all of a sudden you've articulated it, right, for multiple days. Like you're putting all these stressors on it, and that's going to feel cathartic in the beginning. As it goes from doing nothing to doing something, that's going to feel cathartic. That's going to feel good. You're going to get oxytocin from it. You're going to get fucking serotonin surges from it, from the like sense of accomplishment. You're going to get all these physiological feeling centers that are generated by, anatomical and physiological responses and chemicals and neurotransmitters and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And all that shit's gonna feel fucking good. And then on top of it, we do the New Year's resolution through fucking February, and February syndrome, if anybody's familiar with that, is basically just a massive fucking Agnihotra practice. And so like it's gonna feel good to be doing movement at the same time of year where like light is coming back, where Dr. Sunshine is coming back, where all of a sudden we're getting vitamin D and our anti-stress hormone, because that's what vitamin D is. It is not a vitamin, it is a hormone. And so it's an anti-stress hormone, and we're getting that at the same time that we're like building resilience through exercise. So like there's all these swirling vortex of fucking shit coming together that's telling us like we feel good, we're on the right track, we're doing stuff. But then at week 4, week 5, week 7, our body's like, I will not, I refuse, I'm not doing this. And then you don't have the habit, you don't have the discipline, you don't have the willpower, you don't have the standing practice to like fall off the bandwagon that well. But you also didn't install a right limit. A great right limit, for example, for anybody getting into fitness, is like, if I don't make it to the gym, I vow to myself that I will at the very least go for a 5 or 10-minute walk, right? Like I will maintain circulatory response in some capacity in spite of like a changing and fluxing schedule, or my boss didn't let me off until, I don't like to go to the gym at 5 because it's fucking packed with gym bros, and I get off at 3:30, so usually I can get to the gym, from 4 to 5 before the rush happens. And today my boss didn't let me off until 5, and I don't want to go for the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock rush, so I'm just not going to go. No, you can still go on a 10-minute fucking walk around your house. You might even meet a neighbor. You might even meet a neighbor who's also trying to get into fitness, and now you've got an accountability buddy. Hey, look at that. The best way to escape your dwelling is to fucking go outside your dwelling. So, just food for thought in that regard on the idea of installing yourself a right limit. Because the left limit, in my mind, when I'm talking about this shit, the left limit is everything you want to do. Your right limit is everything you will do. What will you do? Will you go to the gym for the whole fucking year? You want to. That's your left limit. That's why you made this fucking resolution. That's why you made this fucking promise to yourself. That's why you hyped yourself up and called yourself weak or a pussy or like whatever. For those of us who hype ourselves up through negative reinforcement, like, oh, I refuse to be fucking weak anymore. I'm gonna go to the gym this year. This is the year I change. This is the year I become resilient. I don't want to be a pussy anymore. I don't want to be weak anymore. I don't want to be just like in pain for no fucking reason, Or like, I had this one client back in Indiana, Bob, super cool dude. He was like in his 70s, and yeah, I think he was like 73. And you would have never known, because you'd have thought he was a 50-year-old. He moved better than most 50-year-olds. And I asked him, like, why did he still go to the gym? Why did he still punish himself with these hard-ass fucking workouts? And he was like, well, Joe, I woke up one day when I was in my 60s, and I just fucking hurt. And I hadn't worked out. I hadn't done anything. And that was the day I was old enough then to realize I'm going to hurt regardless. I'm going to hurt whether I work out, or I'm going to hurt whether I don't work out. Like, so in my mind, I might as well hurt because I'm getting stronger. I might as well hurt because I'm applying physiological forces that force adaptation and change. And I was like, fuck yeah, Bob. Way to go, dude. Like, I don't know if that's the healthiest fucking way to carry yourself into the gym, but at least it's a right limit. At least it's a correct way of thinking about things, in that they motivate you to action, in that they get the job accomplished. And so while you're applying these things to yourself and while you're installing these sub programs and while you're finding out what you want to do and what you will do, uh, recognize that every repetition is both incremental and detrimental at the same time. They're both. It's both. And so the detrimental aspect, however, has a slightly different multiplier. It's fractal, which is another part of why we don't understand it. It's kind of like interest on a debt, right? When you're 20, you don't understand what the fuck that means. You don't understand what fucking 10% is. You don't understand what 15% APR is. Like, it's just a percentage of a thing that's amorphous. It's, you know, it's not until your 5th, 6th, 7th year of paying off a debt that you've now paid 2 or 3 times the fucking overall price for that you're like, oh, that's what fractal math is, right? And so fatigue is fractal math. You know, for simplicity, because I don't want to break your all's brain, and I don't want to break my own brain trying to keep track of this metaphor, let's call it 1.25. So 1 repetition equals 1.0 incremental success and 1.25 detrimental addition, right? Next to each other, that doesn't look like shit. But multiplied over fucking, I don't know, 7 gym days for 5 weeks, that's a big deal now. That's a big deal. You know, minimize out of YouTube unless you got YouTube Premium and just fucking, you know, set it off to the side and do that fucking calculator math. Look how big that is. Look how big a fucking difference that is. So we just have to understand that fatigue is a fractal acclimation and accumulation, and we have to manage for it, you know. So in the beginning, you can proactively do this. I said it in the beginning of this video, but like I usually tell men to do yoga. You know, I'll look at I'll look at their journal, their fitness, their program, whatever, and I'll, like, the first thing I'll do is like, wow, this is a lot of volume. And they'll be like, yeah, you know, I gotta fucking... which on that footnote, that's another thing. Progressive overload is fucking real and a necessity. So, like, if you've never read the story of, I almost said Milo the Bull, and that is not it. Wow, my brain really does not want to fucking recall shit today. But there's that... Fuck. I'm just going to go to the high notes. You guys can, down in the comments section or whatever, tell me what the fuck this guy's name was again. But it's the story of the greatest wrestler of Rome, and he got a baby bull, and every day he put that baby bull on his shoulders and he walked laps around the Colosseum, and every day that bull grew, but every day so did he. Right? That's where we get our original foundational idea from progressive overload. So, like, if at the beginning of your workout you're looking at like 4x12s, 4 sets of 12 reps on like 12 fucking movement patterns, that's dumb. You're dumb. Don't be dumb. That's stupid as fuck. How about you build a fucking foundation of fitness before you try to do that shit, you know? The only reason that he could already do laps around the Colosseum with a bull on his shoulder was, I'm assuming, he was already doing laps around the Colosseum. You know what I mean? Like, he already had some fucking... Or at the very least, he was already in wrestling practice. You know? So, like, he already had some fucking foundational baseline of what he was doing. And then he added that progressive overload system, program, way of life, and he generated strength over the course of time. And so yeah, so that'll help in a big way. But let me try and get back on track of what took me down that side loop. Oh yeah, just so progressively understand that fatigue is generating faster than strength is. Fatigue is generating faster than fat loss is. And so have that installed in your program already. You know, maybe it's stretching out 1 day a week because you're in the sauna, because your gym has a sauna. Not every gym's going to have a sauna, I know. um, I'm kind of thinking about Sweat at the Cove here in Coppers Cove, Texas, and Lacey Ultimate Fitness in Lacey, Washington. Those are the two main gyms that I've cut teeth on as far as like Globo gyms go, and both of them have at least a sauna or a steam room. So like maybe you have access to a sauna or a steam room. I know a lot of Gold's gyms and LA Fitnesses also have steam rooms and saunas. So like maybe that's your recovery. Maybe it's not even stretching. Maybe it's literally just 1 day a week your gym has access to a steam room or a sauna. Maybe it's just 1 day a week you go in and you get your sweat session in through heat, through breathing hot air, through sitting and enduring. You know, maybe the first week you could only do a minute. Maybe this week you can go 2 minutes. Maybe next week you can do 5, right? You know, there's progressive overload built within that as well. And that shit, heat shock proteins and all the fucking nonsense that Joe Rogan has been talking about, and Joe Rogan's fucking podcast guests have been talking about for years. Like, that's all scientifically proven if you need the fucking science base. Like, I'm not talking out of my ass on this shit. All of this has a foundation and a basis from which has even informed me to now relay it to you. So maybe that's what you do. You get your recovery through heat shock proteins. Maybe it's cold baths because you're a real fucking psychopath, and cold plunges and Wim Hof, you know, have you totally convinced that like that's the way to do it. I don't give a fuck. All I care about is that you have this shit installed for yourself, and that you are managing your recovery proactively, along with your destructive rebuild forcing. You know, that is our training regimen. You know, because for any of you that don't know, growing stronger mandates that you, from a physiological microscopic perspective, tear muscles, and then those muscles spew fucking muscle protein and proteins and fascial fucking hyaluronic acid baths and shit like that. And then like after they've been damaged, after tissues have been damaged, that's when we like put more collagen and other fibrous materials on top of them, like physiologically. And so that's like, you know, which comes in another reason for like why you need a recovery, an active, mindful, programmed recovery practice. Because most of you think that like doing nothing, you know, going to the gym, most of you think that going to the gym for a week and then on the 7th day doing actively nothing, a lot of you think that's recovery. And for a certain newbie fitness paradigm, it will be for a while. But eventually it won't be anymore. Eventually you'll have enough ligamentous capacity. You'll have enough sinew on your tendons. You'll have enough muscle fibers built up, myofibrils and myoblasts built up, that now, in order to recover, you literally have to like move and circulate lymphatic fluids over those things, because otherwise the sarcomeres and the myofibrils and the muscle blasts and the fucking Golgi tendon apparatus won't get the collagen and the hyaluronic acid and all the other recuperative goo that the body, you know, creates. It won't even get them to the area anymore without the circulatory response. It gets to a place where, like, you know, in the beginning you can walk the weight off. In the middle and the end, you have to like walk the recovery on, kind of thing. It's kind of the idea that I'm failing to eloquate succinctly presently. And I'm just going to kind of pause for some reflection for a second and think if I've missed anything. Invariably, I have most definitely missed shit. I'm sure of it. I am not perfect. I'm a very flawed human. But for the sake of brevity, because this is going on 45 fucking minutes already. Let's recap. Manage your fatigue. Manage your expectations. The catharsis isn't forever. Eventually, the newbie gains go away, and like you don't get high off of squats forever. You don't get high off of PRs forever. That's another one. Just in recouping for expectation purposes, your newbie gains don't last forever. In the beginning, it's really fucking cool. I really like training kids that are like 17 to 22, 17 to 23 kind of age range, especially kids who like came from any sort of fucking PE system in modernity that has utterly fucking failed them and has not equipped them with anything other than like the pacer, a mile, and maybe some fucking dodgeball if they live in a state where dodgeball is not illegal. But like you aren't doing lunges, you aren't doing push-ups, you aren't learning what dips are, you aren't learning the 7 movement patterns to be a successful anatomical human. You know what I mean? In modern day PE is really just the, I don't know, the fucking childcare facet of public schools. So like, so one of the things I really like with kids in that, with training clients in that age range, is I can kind of like, I can physiologically spur them to springboard up to the physiological maturation level that they should be. I can, in a way, kick off puberty or finalize puberty or like whatever, right? Like, and so you get to see massive changes. Well, within that massive changes, and it's really fun for like 6 weeks, and then it becomes not fun anymore for like another 6 weeks, because in the first 6 weeks you've formed some new fitness fucking identity around these gains that are not going to stay that way. But in the beginning, a lot of these kids come to me, and every workout session they PR by 45 to 90 fucking pounds. It's like, oh, the first week you came to me, we deadlifted the bar, and then this week we're deadlifting 135. That's a plate on each side, so that's a 95 pound fucking PR, 90 pound PR, whatever. Math is hard. This is why I do massage and not math. And and then the second week, like, they go up another 50 pounds. Now we're at 185. And we've gone from a plate, we've gone from the bar to the bar and a plate to the bar, a plate, and 25s. And then week 3 comes along, and we're still going up 15, anywhere from 7.5 to 15 pounds on a PR, and it feels good to have 3 weeks in a row of personal records, right? And then that trend continues until like approximately week 6 to week 9, depending on how much I've brought these kids up to where their physiological foundation should be, or whatever foundation they already started at has exceeded up to whatever. But like, point being is most of those PRs in the beginning were fucking mechanical. It was just me teaching you how to proprioceptively lift correctly, how to like not deadlift with your fucking spine, how to actually activate your hamstrings, how to actively activate your glutes on a deadlift, or your glutes and low back on a deadlift, or I've taught you how to clean, whether it's power clean, hang clean, clean to press, doesn't matter. Like, I've taught you how to do those mechanisms, how to use those mechanisms, how to do those mechanics properly. And now mechanically you are operating within the realm that a human should be capable of, because we're so physically fucking bankrupt that you started well below what your mechanical fucking positioning and levers should be capable of. And now we're getting to a place where like you're actually growing stronger, like, but that feels bad for the observer. That feels bad for the newbie. That feels bad for this person who is formulating this idea of their future self, and this idea is attached to the outcomes of PRing every week. Like, yeah, no, it's not going to happen. Dave Hoff, I think it was Dave Hoff. Anyways, I'm kind of out of the professional powerlifting world for the last couple of years. I haven't been keeping up. I think it was Dave Hoff. He trained for like 5 years to add 5 fucking pounds to his bench press. You know, which doesn't sound impressive until you understand the numbers behind it. You know, I think the dude was benching like 800 pounds, and then he got an 805. You know, after 5 years, like that's, you know, when you're in the realm of fucking 800 pound plus bench press, you know, shit, anything over fucking 400 pound bench presses, like, you know, you can't anticipate fucking adding a whole ass bar anymore. You know, that's that's not sustainable. And if your ego construct is attached to the idea that that is sustainable, then like you're gonna fucking fail. You're gonna lose every time. You know, you hitched yourself to the wrong fucking tugboat. You should have learned how to paddle yourself. Um, and so like that's another one of those things within managing fatigue, managing expectations. You know, the newbie phase doesn't last forever, and that's actually you actually embrace that. You know, because like another paradigm shift that comes with the newbie stuff is like in the beginning you're sore every fucking time you work out and you hate it, right? You hate having to put your hand down on the toilet seat to guide yourself down because like your legs are so fucking jello you can't take a shit correctly. Like you just fall onto the toilet seat, you know, because you have no control. Or like stairs become a nightmare because of fucking leg days, you know? And then a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, whatever, everybody's adaptation phase and how hard they push themselves is gone. And like now all of a sudden, like you feel like you didn't do enough of a workout because like you're not sore going up or down the stairs. You're not sore on the toilet after a leg day anymore. And you start to like miss that. You start to miss that idea that like, oh, I felt physically a certain way and that told me that I was on the right track, right? Now you're like, yeah, I did legs and now it's chest day. You know, like that idea of like floppy leg syndrome is fucking gone, you know? So and then it starts to become bittersweet that like I don't get sore anymore unless it's test day, you know, unless it's, you know, I'm checking what my current 1MR fucking numbers are day and I'm maxing out, which on that subject, just because I'm starting to get to fucking 52 minutes, 53 minutes of ranting here on fitness stuff, don't max out every week. That's covered in my programming videos. We should be maxing out at a maximum every 3 weeks. Like your physiology is not so sensitive that you can max out your bench press on Tuesday and the following Tuesday you will have recovered enough to see anything more than like a 1 or 2 pound fucking gain. You know what I mean? So like that falls in line with expectation management. And now I'm starting to talk in circles. So I'm past the recap. So I'm going to breathe, collect, settle. Tell you guys to stay blessed. I hope this has been helpful for somebody out there in YouTube land. Have a great day.